It's like they're answering some kind of big mystery that nobody ever asked the question about. Hi guys, Geetru64 here, and today we're talking about Picard Season 2, Episode 6, titled 2 of 1.
Well, 1 of 3.
2 of 3. Ow!
Yeah, still better than some of the other titles they had this season. Before we get started, I want to preface with this. I am a longtime Star Trek fan. I've loved Star Trek since I was a kid. Big Star Trek fan. I do not like New Trek. I think New Trek is not Star Trek for multiple fundamental reasons. But I do understand some people like it. If you like New Trek, if you're having fun with New Trek, far be it for me to take away your enjoyment of this review. Is probably not for you because I don't like New Trek. I started watching this. I started reviewing this because the first episode I checked out and I didn't think it was that bad. I actually thought there was potential. I thought this was a turnaround for Star Trek. But I was quickly proven wrong, and unfortunately I'm a completionist who wants to finish doing these reviews, so now we're on episode 6. I thought this was an 8-episode season, because I thought last season was 8 episodes, but apparently there's 10, so at least we're past the halfway mark, I guess. So how was this episode? There was one moment in the show that I actually did like, but overall it's just kind of a muddled mess, and it's just been pretty terrible since episode 3. Ever since they went back in time, the show has gone downhill, with episode 4 culminating in like the worst episode of New Trek I've ever seen. Episode 6 is not as bad as episode 4, so at least we have that. So they open up the episode and Picard is on the ground. He's bleeding. He's in his tux, so you can tell he probably went to this gala. Something happened. He's bleeding on the floor. People are like, "Are you all right, Admiral? Are you all right, Admiral?" Then it flashes back to like 40 minutes earlier or something like that. I hate this trope. I mentioned it in the first, they did it in the first episode of this season as well. I don't like this trope. Even with good writers, I still don't really like this trope. I think this is just a lazy way to try and hook the audience into what's being told. This is a very played out formula. I'm really sick of seeing it, but then again, it's kind of a minor qualm in the grand scheme of the things that have happened here in Picard Season 2. So Jurati at the end of last episode was taken by security and apparently taken to the actual server room, the control room for security, and chained to a chair for some reason. I don't know why she wasn't directly taken to, you know, to jail. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. But yeah, she's locked up in this control room, and apparently they didn't search her or anything. She just pulls out some like gas thing and hits it and puts everybody to sleep. So yeah, great security guards there, guys. And the Borg Queen's in her head now because she was assimilated, or Borg Queen downloaded herself into Jurati, whatever. So the Borg Queen's basically talking to her and says, "Hey, give me some control. I'll break you out of these cuffs," because she knocked out the security guards and they're across the room and she still can't break out of the cuffs because they got the keys. And Borg Queen's, "Give me control. I'll break you out of there." So she does. The Borg Queen just, I guess, uses her super strength and breaks off the cuffs. So there's clearly Borg nanoprobes obviously floating around in her body. So she's being assimilated, essentially. We know that at this point. What we didn't know, and I don't think they actually said in the last episode. If they did, I missed it. But basically in this episode, Jurati says that she knew that the Borg Queen was downloading herself into the body, and she willingly let the Borg Queen do that because she couldn't let the Borg Queen die, because the Borg Queen has information in order to get them back to the future. In order to get the crew back to the future, they need the Borg Queen. So she couldn't let her die, so she willingly got assimilated. I will say that this is like the most selfless thing I've seen this character do. I didn't even know that this character was capable of anything selfless, because most of these new characters are extremely selfish and nihilistic. I mean, she is a murderer. She did murder Bruce Maddox. I'm not gonna let you guys forget that. So apparently all the characters are at this gala, every single character. And so that means that the ship was left by itself at Chateau Picard, where a cop was sent out because of a potential hostage situation. They only sent out one cop, which is weird. But the cop, he almost died. I guess, he was saved, but still, like, really the police station's not going to send any follow-up cops after this cop went missing. And even if that doesn't happen, you basically just left the ship by itself. No, you did leave the ship by itself with a cloak that apparently sucks because you left the platform down in the last episode. And you could say, hey, we needed all hands on deck in order to protect Renee here at this gala, but that's not true because Seven doesn't do anything this entire episode. She literally just schmoozes it up with some random people. Rafi also doesn't hardly do anything the entire episode. So either one of them could have just been left at the ship to, guard it. Leave somebody at the ship, geez. So Rios is very happy. He's like, I love the 21st century, which is kind of strange considering his experiences in episode 3 and 4 and 5, which are terrible. 3, 4, and 5, I don't think it's going to get any better. But out of the last 4 episodes, I'd say this is the one where I felt the least irritated after watching it. So that's something, I guess. But anyway, Rios is happy. He likes the 21st century. He likes the noise. He likes the smells. He likes the food. He likes the cigars. And I mean, I like the food and cigars too myself. The thing that's really stupid is Rafi is like, oh, you're really happy. What is with you? Oh, it's that doctor that you met. You've been happy about that doctor that you met from lockup. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, you never even met her. You don't even know. You could assume, I guess, that Rios might have mentioned her to Rafi. Sure. Didn't happen on screen. But we do know that Rafi never met this doctor. She never met the doctor. So why is she talking about her? And Rafi keeps seeing Elnor, who obviously died at the beginning of episode 3. I didn't really care when he died because more than likely they're just going to retcon it with the time travel aspect. He's going to come back. Rafi never had any connection with Elnor in the first season. So no matter how much they want to keep pushing that on, I just don't buy it at all. Picard having feelings about Elnor dying, I certainly would buy because there was an established relationship between those two characters in the first season. I just don't buy the stuff with Rafi and Elnor. I think it's dumb. Elnor keeps popping up in her brain. She keeps seeing Elnor's places, and I just don't really care. They also mentioned Jurati-Rios relationship, which this might have been in the first season. I don't remember it if it did, but I also brain dumped a lot of the first season. The first season was basically just a nihilistic Mass Effect ripoff. I mean, it was really bad. So this could have been a thing in there, and I just don't remember it. But the Rios-Jurati relationship, I don't buy that at all. I don't like that at all. They allude to it here where Jurati just basically assaults Rios. So then we cut to Picard and the not Laris Watcher. And they're watching over Renee, which is the whole reason they're there, which apparently the rest of the crew didn't get the memo because they're wandering around, gallivanting around with all of these bigwigs at this party. They're just there to protect Renee, and Picard and the Watcher are the only one who seems to be doing that. Anyway, Renee's like, she starts to have the self-doubt, the depression, anxiety kicks in. She's like, I can't do this. So she texts Q, who's her therapist, and is like, hey, I can't do this. And Q on the other end is obviously encouraging her to not, because that's a plot point that was established in the last episode. Which these plot points get thrown around, they get introduced into the show and then they're solved pretty quickly for the most part. It's just like somebody threw a bunch of darts at a dartboard to determine what they were going to put in this season, and they just decided, screw it, we'll put the whole dartboard in there. But regardless, the Laris Watcher can pull up on her phone and see what Q is texting her, and that's the reason they know what's happening. I mean, if they have all of this technology, okay, you really mean that you couldn't just intercept those messages, get rid of them, or even pretend to be Q, just spoof a phone number? You could do that now with today's technology. The Watcher, who can literally take over people's minds and has all this futuristic tech, or them, who are also from hundreds of years in the future, they have tech that it'd be easy to actually do this. That's what they should have been doing. I don't understand why that didn't happen. And other people have been talking about the fact that their anxiety and depression is not diagnosed. There's no way that you could hide that, okay? I know that you cannot hide this in these programs, all right? Just take my word for it. You cannot hide this level of depression and anxiety, crippling depression and anxiety, from what they've shown so far and what they've talked about between the 2 episodes. There are multiple psych evals you have to take consistently in these programs. And if you ever saw a therapist or anything else, that would be known in the program. There's absolutely no way that you're going to hide it when you are the linchpin for billions of dollars mission to Europa. There's no way you could avoid that. So, and there'd be backup pilots already on standby in case you fell through. So there's multiple fail safes and things that are. So anyway, regardless, I don't want to get off in the weeds. So Adam Soong shows up, and apparently he bought his way onto the board of the Europa mission. I guess I would buy the fact that he would have enough money to be able to do that, but wasn't he just disgraced and kicked off of this major program? Seems like they probably wouldn't want him on the board or wouldn't let him buy in regardless of how much money he had, because his name would poison their program, unless they're really hard up for money, which I guess could be the case. But regardless, he shows up and he's obviously working on behalf of Q and tells Picard, hey, you need to leave here and you need to get out of here. And then Adam Soong basically goes to one of the members of the board and tells security, hey, this guy Picard, we need to get him out of here. He's not supposed to be here. So Picard is like weaving in and out of the crowd. He's trying to avoid the security guards getting to him. And I'm just thinking, like, he's on the comms, like hardly anybody's responding. Where's Seven and Rafi? They've just been wandering around like this entire time at the gala. Where the hell are they at? Rios is at least following Renee around so that way to keep eyes on her. And Jurati just talks to the Borg Queen again, and they institute a nano EMP so to shut off all the lights. And then she sings the song to distract everybody. And I'm just thinking, whoever wrote this doesn't really know much about Star Trek and nano EMP. Okay, fine. Anyway, she sings a song and distracts everybody. And apparently the Borg Queen couldn't take over Jurati's body because of how much stress she was under, because the stress was blocking the Borg Queen from being able to take her over. Again, whoever wrote this doesn't know anything about Star Trek. It's assimilation. It doesn't matter. There's no blocking it. Like, the assimilation happens. It's like getting bit by a zombie. There's nothing you can do, okay? Even if you can't even cut off the limbs. Like, once you're assimilated, you're assimilated. Once those nanoprobes are in your body, you're pretty much screwed. Regardless, apparently the Borg Queen couldn't take over her body because of the stress, and she needed the endorphin rush in order to actually take over her body, which is the whole reason why she let her sing, to get admiration from the crowd, because Jurati seeks admiration from everybody else because she doesn't feel loved, probably for the fact that she's a murderer. And she still hasn't gotten over that, even though the writers want to keep hand-waving that away. I'm not going to forget. I think it's insane that Jurati willingly got assimilated because she thought that she'd be able to control the Borg Queen. Like, in the words of the first season of Picard,
sheer hubris.
So with the help of Rios, Picard impersonates one of the security guards at the gala and goes up and talks to Renee, who's obviously crying, and she's off by herself and she really wants to quit. And this is like one of the best like sections or things, like moments that I've seen in New Trek, because it kind of feels like Star Trek. And I'll explain what I mean, because he starts to have a conversation with her about fear and doubt and overcoming fear and doubt. And the reason why this feels more like Star Trek is, one of the things with Star Trek is it addresses human nature, is one of the things that it addresses. And at least this is literally just addressing fear and doubt of another person. Like, hey, overcoming fear and doubt. And like, I kind of like this moment right here. This little section, this turd sandwich that is New Trek. This is actually pretty good. I did like it. Unfortunately, we also get more Picard childhood flashbacks right after this, which I'm so sick of these. I hate them. I hate these Picard childhood flashbacks. I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. When you have somebody in their 90s, when you have an older character who's in their 90s, and is an established character, and all of a sudden, for some random reason, he's having flashbacks to some traumatic thing that happened in his childhood, it doesn't work. It doesn't feel natural. It feels forced and terrible. It feels like bad writing, lazy writing, and that's how it comes across. And if this actually turns out to be something to have to do with his dad being abusive or something, I am really gonna hate this, because his dad is not that way. It's established in canon that he's not that way. He did have a strained relationship with his dad, but it wasn't because of that. Regardless, I don't know if that's the way that they're going, but if that's the way they're going, I'm going to hate it. But even if that's not the way they're going, the fact that you give childhood flashback drama to an established character in their 90s, in which case they probably would have already dealt with anything from their childhood at this point, it just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense, especially with an established character like Captain Picard. Anyway, Adam Soong tries to run over Renee with the car because he failed to have Picard captured. So he's like, I'm just going to run over Renee with the car so that way I can accomplish my mission and Q will help me with saving my daughter. And Picard throws Renee out of the way and ends up getting hit by the car, and that leads to him lying on the ground, which is what we saw at the beginning of the episode. So here's another thing that makes zero sense. Okay, so what do? Picard's lying on the ground. He's in really bad shape. He's dying. And what do? They take him to the doctor that they brought into the story in the 3rd and 4th episodes. The one that they just mentioned in this episode, why Rios was happy. What Rafi mentioned is why Rios is happy. I mentioned the fact I was like, that whole thing is pointless, but they have the doctor. That's what they do. They take him to a modern day doctor to help. Why not beam back to the ship? Why not beam back to the ship? You have 25th century technology. Yeah, you can't find Jurati, who's your doctor, but Starfleet officers are trained in basic medical care. Like, even if you have like rudimentary knowledge of 25th century tech, technically I guess it's 24th century, but I know that it's nearing the 25th century as far as timeline wise at this point. And you have rudimentary knowledge of this medical tech. Like, that is better than modern day technology. Why the hell would you not beam back to the ship? I can tell you why. It's because we need to work the doctor back into the plot to make any kind of relevancy to the stupid side plot they had before. And I'm going to get back to this at the end of the review. I did think this was funny. The doctor's like, hey, does he have any conditions? And Rafi, who's insufferable, says, she's like, yeah, he's had some transplants, like all of them. I thought that was kind of funny. That got a little chuckle from me. I'm not gonna lie.
Itty bitty smile. Just let the mouth curl a little bit.
So Soong comes back and is talking to his daughter, and he's crying. He's like, I went so far. I went as far as I could, and it still wasn't enough. And my greatest creation is gonna die. And you think that he's talking about his daughter. Well, that's gonna be revealed here in a second. But he did say something to her that I thought was very important, which is he says, the why of things matter. That's a direct quote. The why of things matter. And I can't think of a better way to sum up what's wrong with New Trek. The why of things matter. Just think about it for a second. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that statement. The why of things matter. I agree with that, okay? Anyway, Soong's daughter just saunters into Adam's lab, and apparently there's no password protections on this top secret. These top secret files are just open. They're just open on the computer, and she's never used Google before, apparently, so she doesn't even have the internet wherever she's at. So she pulls up and sees that, Adam Soong's been, disgraced and kicked off of it because of experiments, and then just opens all of these top secret files he has on his computer about all these experiments. And apparently his daughter is a clone experiment of some sort. Maybe there was an initial daughter and then he kept recloning her, or maybe she's definitely some kind of eugenics experiment that continually fails. So who knows how many versions of the daughter has been? It looks like a lot, like 20 or more. Who knows? It's been quite a few. It's just crazy to me. This guy's is a scientist. He's a really smart guy. Doesn't even have password protections on his lab computer. What the hell? He doesn't even have a lockout. Regardless, it's like set up to where we're supposed to have this big reaction to the fact that she's a clone and that she's a part of an experiment and stuff like that. We don't care. We literally were just introduced with you in the last episode. We've hardly had any screen time with you. You're playing a character. You're an actress playing a different character from the character you played before, with Brent Spiner's also playing another Soong who's played like 5 Soongs before this, and y'all were just introduced in this last episode. So like, we don't care. There's no build up to this. It's like they're answering some kind of big mystery that nobody ever asked the question about. Like, we didn't care. Anyway, so Picard gets stabilized, and the Watcher uses this device to look into his brain to figure out why he's not waking up. And, I'm just like, you have this device that looks in their brain, but none of y'all could figure out how to stabilize him. You had to bring him to a modern doctor to use a defibrillator. This is so stupid. Anyway, the Watcher's like, I can go into his brain to figure out what's wrong with him, and I can fix him. And Rafi's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. He's in a coma for a reason. I'm like, what the hell? Like, Rafi, you're so stupid. Why is everything you say I find so annoying and insufferable? So we get Jurati, and she's walking through the city. The Borg Queen's in full control over her body, right? Of course. And at this point, I'm just thinking, why didn't we just focus on like this story? Why has there been so many stupid side plots that were poorly written, poorly executed, don't fit into an overall story? It's like I said before, it's like somebody just threw a bunch of darts on a dartboard and threw every single stupid plot idea they had into this. They don't coalesce, they don't make any sense together at all. And some of them could have potential to work, and some of them are just terrible from Jump Street. So there's 3 points I think that they should have just focused on once they went back in time, okay? A, you should focus on the Borg Queen being there and the fact that she's trying to escape, because if she escapes and starts spreading her Borg across the modern day society, that's a big problem. So that would be one thing to focus on, which they're kind of starting to lead into that potentially, but we'll see what they do. That should have been one thing that was focused on, mainly. Second thing, Q, what is he doing? If you wanted to keep the Renee plot, that's fine. I think that there could have been more. I think you could have cut the Renee section altogether and just had Q directly interfacing with Adam Soong, make Adam Soong and his daughter like the main thing Q is trying to manipulate as far as the actual eugenics wars, the secret eugenics wars. Like, focus on that stuff. Cut out Renee entirely. If you want to keep it in, that's fine too, but regardless, those are like the main things. Those are like the main things that they should have focused on when they went back in time. So we had a clear focus of what their mission was and what they were trying to accomplish. Get rid of all of the wandering around the city side plots. Episode 3 and episode 4, you can cut out completely. We don't need young Guinan. We don't need any of that kind of crap. We don't need Rios getting captured. We don't need the stupid car chase with Seven and Rafi. Like, the whole of this is just stupid things that they plugged into this season to fill out the season because they didn't have enough a story that they felt like to fill out 10 episodes. So everything feels very stretched out and hammered in. It doesn't make any sense. Like, this story does not coalesce at all. Also, get rid of the Picard childhood flashbacks. They're terrible. I don't like them. It doesn't make any sense. Like, there's so many stupid side plots in this thing that if they just get rid of it, just streamline this story, okay? Even with bad writing, it would at least be acceptable. You'd have a mediocre sci-fi show on your hands, but this is just a poorly written nihilistic nightmare. It's just not fun to watch. Every once in a while, there's little nuggets of good things in the season, but it's just overall, it's just a complete and utter mess. If you're curious about what my thoughts are on the fact season 3 dropped in the middle of this season, I already did a video on that, but just suffice it to say, season 2 is obviously performing very poorly, and that's the reason why they dropped the season 3 trailer in the middle of the current season. And with the season 3 drop, we also know that Picard survives whatever's happening, and obviously they get sent back to their regular timeline. So that's good to know that they just went ahead and told us that, because nobody's watching this show apparently. I do want to let everybody know that I did try and read everybody's comments on my last video. I know I didn't respond to any of them. I usually try to respond to comments. There's just so many of them. I could spend hours sitting there, and unfortunately I just don't have that amount of free time. The free time that I do have, I try and put into actually getting some videos up on the channel. So, but just let everybody know, I appreciate everybody's comment. If you disagree with me, I like to know why. I like opposing views. As long as you're respectful, I'm very interested to read those. And regardless, we only got 4 episodes left. Thank God we're almost done with this, and I can be done with these reviews and start talking about something that I like. Thank you, subscribers, and thank you to new subscribers for my Star Trek videos. I got some other physical media stuff coming up and some other Star Trek videos coming up. And just thank you to everybody else who checked out this video. You guys are awesome. And if you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm Geek264, and I always tell you the truth.